All right, ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? It is 3 o'clock Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and this is SolarEdge Night Mode, your after-hours happy hour for solar enthusiasts and solar geeks of all kinds. I'm Chris.
My name's Cameron.
And it's a pleasure to have you here today. So I think we should start off. We're going to be talking about all of the questions that we've gotten about ConnectDER, the SolarEdge Nexis connector, and the SolarEdge Nexis inverter and battery today.
Yeah.
Let's start with something very important.
Wait. No, first let's introduce, because we have a guest.
Oh, we're gonna introduce him. Don't worry. But
Okay.
Let's go ahead and start with this. What are you drinking today?
I am drinking Cali Screamin', and I realized that I put my can on the ground. It's a pumpkin vanilla cream ale, and I was feeling kind of festive because it's almost Halloween. And so I grabbed this awesome beer. Now, I've had their regular Cali Creamin' is what they call it, from Mother Earth Brewing Company, and it's fantastic. So I'm excited to try out their pumpkin ale.
That looks really, really cool. And I have got Inhume by Ghost Town Brewing. We've decided to go with spooky-themed beers this time, and this is a lovely India Pale Ale, and they are based out of Oakland, California.
Nice. So cheers.
Cheers.
Prost.
Yep.
Wait. What's Khanti drinking?
Khanti, what are you drinking, sir?
Well, I wouldn't be a proper Vermonter if I wasn't sporting a Eddie Topper from The Alchemist up in Vermont. It's a double IPA, not to be missed.
Oh, nice.
Heck yeah, man. That's awesome. That sounds good. Do you like IPAs?
I sure do. I like podcasts that you have to drink beer for them, too. That's great.
That's the worst part of this job.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And we should always say, if you are drinking, drink responsibly. Khanti, you're already at home right now, but our wives are going to be picking us up later. What are our wives doing this week?
I thought they were doing fencing lessons this week.
Ah, that's right. Fencing lessons. Yeah, and they are going to be done at 4 o'clock sharp and coming over here. So we need to make sure that we wrap it up by 4 o'clock today. Otherwise, there will be hell to pay.
Oh, God. Go home. All right. So let's get off with the puns. And I was trying really hard not to say one, but because we have a guest.
Yeah,
and
we should get to the point.
Oh, God.
Foiled again.
Foiled again. All right, so with us today, we have Khanti Munro. And Khanti's been in the industry for 21 years. He's been at ConnectDER for almost the past 4 years, I think I saw. PV professional, a lot of product management, project management, design and engineering. Man, Khanti, welcome to the show. What haven't you done in the PV industry?
That's a good question. I haven't worked with you guys yet at SolarEdge. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah.
That's welcome anytime.
I'd like to reminisce that the sun has paid my salary for since I got out of college. So it's been a ride.
That is awesome, and it's continuing to go. You know, I think you and I first met in person at RE Plus. When we were talking about the SolarEdge Nexis IslandDER and all the fantastic work that you guys have been doing at ConnectDER. And so I'm really excited to dig in this episode because, you know, we've gotten a lot of questions about the SolarEdge Nexis solution. How does the IslandDER work and what are some of the key benefits there? So this episode is going to be pretty easy, pretty laid back, and we're just going to talk to you about some of the questions you're getting, and hopefully, you know, we can get it directly from the source, and I'm really happy to have you here.
So if you want to, please drop your questions over in the live chat. You can also send them over to nightmode@solaredge.com. And thank you to each and every one of you that sent in comments ahead of time.
Yep.
Even have a couple of funny pictures to share at the end of the episode. We got an installation picture from a homeowner.
Yep.
And then we got a couple of electrician boo-boo type images that people sent us for fun that we'll share as well. So really looking forward to that. So again, drop them in the chat, drop them at nightmode@solaredge.com. Feel free to email us. We'll answer your questions live as we go through. Otherwise, we're just going to go through and go through any of the questions that have already come in, which are quite numerous. If you see me turning over here, I apologize for that. This laptop is not behaving well right now, so I have to work with this computer over here. So I apologize if I turn my head on you. Khanti, since you're on the East Coast and it's already past 6 for you, let's go ahead and start with all of the SolarEdge Nexis connector type questions. Now, I know one of the great things about connector is when we were at RE+, we saw this product at so many different manufacturers' booth. It is kind of becoming the go-to option for meter colors. And we're really, really excited about having a custom version of that built for SolarEdge, and really excited to work with the folks over at Connector who are amazing people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was the, one of the questions that I always get is, what is the IslandDER rated for? What's the ampere rating? And there's going to be kind of a caveat to this question. So let's start with, what is the ampere rating of the IslandDER? And then the follow-up to that is, what do you do if it's a 225 amp bus that's solar ready?
So the really simple way to answer that is that the product is designed for up to 200 amp residential single phase services. That's really what we're targeting. We're not targeting, larger 400, 600 amp services or industrial services. This is going after the home owner that has 100 amp or 200 amp service that just, can't fit in the solar, the storage, the EVs without an MPU, a service replacement, right? So it is rated for up to 200 amps that can pass through it continuously.
That's right. And so the thing that I always say is like, oh, if it's a 225 amp bus, it's still a 200 amp main breaker. And so you're still rated for 200 amps. Just the bus bar after the meter color can carry 225 amps on it. Right. And so that was a question. Yeah, exactly. So that was a question that I get a lot from just solar installers in general. But you're absolutely right, Khanti. Thank you.
No problem.
Let's see here. I really should state for the record before we get too much further that I have to toss out this disclaimer. Both products, the Nexis, the SolarEdge Nexis IslandDER and the SolarEdge Nexis inverter and batteries, these are both products that are still in late stages of development. Anything that we say today is based off the current information that we have right now. But things like product details, product roadmap, that's all subject to change as we move further along into the development cycle. Right now, we are in the middle of our beta phase of testing. We've got these inverters going all over the country, and we're really, really excited about it. I know that Khanti is doing a bunch of testing with his equipment, and I just want to throw this out there that if we're giving you information, it's the most accurate information that we can possibly give you at this moment. But again, like any product under development, things are subject to change. So just want to toss that out there. Let's see here. What questions?
That's the most elegant way I've heard anyone say I can't be held responsible for anything I say.
Well, I do work in marketing. Yes, thank you. For those of you playing Chris, don't forget to change the camera today. Okay, so next question that I got that came in was, where do I purchase the connector IslandDER, the SolarEdge connector IslandDER variant of the product? Is it through SolarEdge? Is it through distribution? Is it through connector? Where is this purchased?
Yeah, so connector doesn't sell direct typically unless it's a really high volume customer. So primarily we're going to move product through distribution, through primary distribution channels. Obviously with SolarEdge as a key partner, if SolarEdge chooses to do some, Nexis bundling or package deals or anything, I'm sure we'll be selling directly to SolarEdge as well. But primarily, we're targeting the distribution channels where, solar installers are used to going for their equipment.
And I know this is, subject to change by distribution, but is there a rough figure about what the cost of the IslandDER is going to be?
Well, I have a preferred way.
It's a dangerous question, but the question always comes in, and it's always determined by the distributors, but just kind of ballpark, what should people expect, roughly?
Well, let's see if this works for you two. If it doesn't, then maybe I'll have to give you a number. If I told you it's about a third of the cost of a circuit relocation or your Hawaiian tie-in type of method, right? Or maybe about a fifth to a tenth of the cost of an MPU or a service replacement. Does that satisfy you, or are you looking for a number?
No, I think
That'll work for me.
that's good. I think that's very satisfactory.
I think one of the things I appreciate most about the product is that it saves all that time and effort going through relocating loads to a backup subpanel,
Yeah.
which in itself is just a nightmare because that's where we typically see the most installation errors because DC guys are used to slapping glass, maybe tossing in a breaker here and there,
Yeah.
but relocating loads, installing subpanels, there's a lot of getchas and gotchas code-wise that can happen there.
You know what we forgot to do for the uninitiated? We forgot to describe what the SolarEdge Nexis Islander is.
I mean, we can absolutely do that. Go ahead.
All right. So the SolarEdge Nexis Islander is a microgrid interconnection device. And it's a meter socket adapter that sits behind the utility billing meter and creates electrical isolation from the grid when the grid goes down. It is controlled and reports data back to the SolarEdge Nexis inverter. The data that is reported is consumption data, the state of the transfer switch, telemetries, all the things you would expect. And then when the grid is restored, it automatically reconnects to the grid after getting positive confirmation that voltage has been present for 5 minutes and we've passed grid monitoring time. So that is fundamentally what the SolarEdge Nexis solution is. And we worked with ConnectDER, so they have a fantastic product. SolarEdge really liked the fact that it had no moving parts inside of it, and we really liked the form factor. So there's I'm sure Khanti can talk about the heat rise and the different tests that go into that form factor, but fundamentally it is just a little circle that sits behind your billing meter and saves you roughly 10 labor hours of work on site and billing material. So that is what it does and what it is. And I wish I had one here to show you because I talk with my hands a lot. Sometimes I just want to point at a product, but that's what it is. Khanti, what did you think of that explanation? Is that satisfactory, or is there anything else you want to add to it?
Do you do any side work for extra promotional videos for others, or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, $5 or beer.
I'll put it in the mail. The double IPA is on the way. No, I think that was a very astute summary of the product. ConnectDER's got multiple product lines that are all meter socket adapter forms. You know, the first one was for solar, second one was for EV, and this one is IslandDER is for storage and resiliency. But they're all similar form factor that go between the utility billing meter and the customer meter socket, and essentially create this new paradigm, kind of a pluggable interface for connecting DERs behind the meter outside of the house where we don't care about bus bar calculations or breaker space or where you clamp CTs or anything like that. So solving a lot of problems all at once.
And so we can do PCS, branch circuit management, or bus bar current management, because we're getting the current data coming through the meter socket adapter, through the microgrid interconnection device. And so we can get that information and do bus bar current management with it. Interestingly enough, that's also going to help you save those main panel upgrades and those MPUs, which is one of the biggest deal killers when you're trying to get a backup system to somebody. And those resiliency systems are coming more and more important as we venture down the road of climate change.
Uncertain times or interesting times. Khanti, one of the questions that I get the most is, how does the ConnectDER Islander, the SolarEdge Nexis ConnectDER Islander, we always have to use the official product name, so if I slip occasionally, I apologize. How does the Islander connect to the inverter?
Yeah, so the SolarEdge integration is very simple, right? And it's basically an Ethernet, a digital communications cable connection that plugs in on both sides. So it plugs into the connection module, or the kind of the top hat of the Islander, if you will, on one side with your RJ45 connection, and then same connection on the Nexus side, and it sends the telemetry. So that's your voltage, current, temperature, a whole lot of information that's collected within the adapter and sends it over to the Nexis system basically to do your PCS, your 1741 or UL3141 decision making, right? Grid following, grid forming. But it's an off-the-shelf type of data comms connection that installers should be used to already.
Very cool. And you mentioned code, so this is always going to come up. Installers want to know what specific codes they should brush up on in relation to installing the islander so that they can go in a little bit more knowledgeable before they talk to their inspectors or
Yeah, no,
AHJs.
it's a good one. I have kind of a favorite or a fun one of my own, and that's NEC 110.3b. And for those of you code dorks, nerds amongst us like myself, that is the code that basically says RTFM, right? Read the no, and many people forget that that's actually reading the manual is actually codified in the code in that section, right? Which is really important. And I joke about it, but it's serious, right? Installing it correctly is the key for all products to operate correctly. But the reality is that the code has not caught up to some of the most emerging technologies, such as meter socket adapters. So if you look at other sections of the code, and section 230 or 690 or 705, any of the sections that might relate to PV or storage or services, you won't find many terms of meter socket adapters or meter callers, right? So it's important, most importantly, that you're installing the product the way it's designed, reading the manual, and making sure that if you're installing it behind the utility meter, that it is approved by the serving utility.
Right.
And there's a caveat to that, which I'm sure you'll ask about. But yeah, there's UL 414 is the standard that governs the product. ANSI standards govern the form factor and the meter socket and everything. So it's a well-regulated space, but in terms of the NEC, there's not a lot of direct code sections relative to meter socket adapters yet.
And since you did bring up the topic of RTFM, I think it's a fair statement to say that, well, at least in California, it's not going to be an average PV installer that installs the meter socket adapter, the IslandDER. It's going to be the utility. And I think you can make that statement for a lot of utilities, and please correct me if I'm wrong. We've gone from the utility saying anything from the meter to the street is ours, and anything past the meter is the homeowner's. And now we're kind of in that gray space, that point of common coupling, that where we meet together. And some utilities are very protective over that space, and some utilities are not. And it comes down to your jurisdiction and how you work with your utility. Do you think that's a fair statement?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I've probably installed or overseen the installation of many hundreds of ConnectDER's products here in the Northeast, in Vermont in particular. And here, as the installer, I can pull the meter, install the meter socket adapter, reinstall the meter. It's wonderful. Simplifies the process. In other states, if you don't go to jail for that, you could get a fine, right? So California is an example where absolutely hard stop, only the utility can install a meter socket adapter behind their meter. So it's paramount that you understand kind of where you are and what the rules are, and you play by those rules, so we keep everybody happy.
Right, absolutely. And just kind of another interesting question related to doing the work. I have a lot of installers asking me, like, do I have to call the utility to have them shut down the power before I pull the meter? So what's your feeling on that?
I hate giving this answer, but it's a good one, and it depends. And that's because every, I forget how many hundreds of utilities we have across the country. ConnectDER's one of our strong points is we've been talking to them for, over a decade. And what we've learned is that they all have different biases and preferences. Some are very set in their ways and very stubborn and very anti-new things, and some are completely open to it and excited about it and forward thinking. So
Right.
on one end of the spectrum, you have utilities that are like, don't touch it, don't do anything, we will do everything. Sorry, my dog's barking in the background. You have other utilities that'll say, it's your product, we're not familiar, you install it, but we have to kill power first, kind of a
Yeah.
power kill at the street. And then you have other utilities, like here in Vermont, parts of New Jersey, Colorado. There's other utilities that say, no, go ahead, just let us know, we'll come back and reseal the meter.
Right.
So it really depends, and the key takeaway is that you need to find out what the procedure is in your area, and ConnectDER certainly can help. If you reach out, we can help connect the dots if you can't figure that out locally.
Right.
But from an installation perspective, Cam, you can install it without a power kill. You just have to keep in mind that you need PPE. You got voltage on the line side of those meter socket jaws. You have to kill the main breaker and stop current flow. But it can be done. It's outlined in our product manual. Obviously, if the utility requires a full power kill, that's even safer, right? Because now you have no voltage or current at the socket. But of course, requires some coordination that
Right.
You have to plan around.
And it's always easy to kill power. It's more difficult getting that power back on a reasonable time.
Mm-hmm.
And additionally, I think that's a great topic that dovetails nicely into what do you do when the utility doesn't allow the meter caller? What are some strategies that an installer could employ to still use this as a microgrid interconnection device? And if you want, I can answer that question, and then you can fact check me.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think one of the strategies that SolarEdge is employing is let's say you're on the East Coast and you want to install a meter collar, meter socket adapter, the IslandDER, but your utility doesn't want you to touch the meter, and the meter socket is far away from everything else in the house. And so one strategy is to install an all-in-one panel or a meter collar and go from the utility billing meter. Now, technically, the code says you have to go from a utility billing meter to some type of disconnecting means. So if it's you can't go meter to meter, but you could go meter to a disconnect switch. And then if you're inside of an all-in-one, you have now a smart panel. You basically have a panel that can be controlled and isolated from the grid. So if you go from, there's two strategies. One, from the utility billing meter directly to a fused disconnect switch that feeds a meter collar that can isolate the house when the grid goes down, or you can make a backup panel that's an all-in-one that has a meter socket combo and put the meter socket in there with a blank plate and some jumpers that run between the jaws, and that way you can complete the circuit and use that as your MID. So I think that's the two strategies that we're going to see. And I think it's important to note that, as time goes on and we get more and more utilities on board with the meter socket adapter, installations are just going to get easier and easier and easier. So it might be a kind of weird thing to do the first time you do it, but after that, it's going to be pretty simple and straightforward.
Yeah, if I could boil it down even a little bit simpler, I think, and that's if you think about the paradigm, which was the gateway or the hub or SolarEdge, the backup interface, right?
Yep.
That was a solution where you cut it in somewhere physically between the meter and the main breaker, the main panel.
Yep.
And that introduced the MID and some other functionality. The approach that you're referencing now is what we call kind of the second socket approach. And that is where instead of a more expensive backup interface box, you're installing a second meter socket in series, in line between the one that houses the utility meter and the main service panel. And that is the one that the IslandDER meter socket adapter goes in. It doesn't need a meter there, right? Because it's just providing the isolation. We're not doing metering. So it needs what we call a meter jumper, or a device like a cover that connects the line side to the load side jaws of the MSA. So
That's right.
we see that as a relevant, an exciting use case where you have meter main combination panels and you want to do partial backup. That's a really good use case. And then, in other parts of the country, it's perfect use case for whole house backup as well.
Right. Absolutely. So I'm glad we're aligned on that strategy there.
Mm-hmm.
So I see Green Power NC texted in. Will the existing US-made inverter support the Nexis batteries, or will we be required to go onto the Nexis inverter? And that's a great question. So
Let's get to that in just a couple of minutes. I want to make sure that we don't like abuse Khanti's time too much. Green Power, I saw you, I got you. You are one of many people that are asking questions about intercompatibility. One of the questions that comes up specific to IslandDER is going to be, will the IslandDER be compatible with a home hub inverter?
Oh, sorry, I was drinking beer.
It's okay. The camera was on me and I forgot to switch back over.
Yeah, so that's great. So will the SolarEdge Nexis IslandDER be compatible with our existing SolarEdge Home Hub inverter? The short answer is no. And there is going to be some compatibility that we can do with it, but if you're exclusively trying to do a SolarEdge Home Hub inverter backup system with the IslandDER, it's not going to work, and there's a good reason why. The SolarEdge Home Hub has a 240 volt output. There's no current that's carried on the neutral, and that's fundamentally how we do switching from DC to AC. Because of that, we require the backup interface for backup. And the backup interface has a giant copper winding in it that is an auto transformer. And what that does is it splits our 240 volt into a 120 240. So we won't be able to use the IslandDER with exclusively the Home Hub because the Home Hub can't create the neutral. The Nexis inverter, however, does create a neutral. It's a kind of an overlapping H-bridge that allows us to create a 120 240, and you will be able to AC couple an SolarEdge Nexis inverter to a SolarEdge Home Hub inverter. So as long as there's a Nexis inverter on site to create the neutral, then yes, you can use a Home Hub system on a Nexis inverter, but you will not be able to use a Home Hub exclusively with a Nexis IslandDER. That was a lot of words.
That is a lot of words, but the big takeaway here is it's the 240 versus split phase 120 120 with a neutral, because that neutral is required so that we can we need that auto transformer to split the phases and balance them.
So I'm going to try to say it as simple as I can. Nexis IslandDER goes with Nexis inverter. Good. Yes, you can do backup. You can add that system to a Home Hub, or a Home Hub added to the Nexis system. Great, you could do that. The Nexis solution, I think I should say. But you can't do just a Home Hub and just a Nexis IslandDER. Those things will not work together. Okay.
All right, we are about halfway through on this one, and I forgot to switch cameras. Thank you for noticing, Jeff. You got me. Jeff plays bingo every week, like seeing if I forget to switch the cameras, and just look for that panic moment on my face where I hit the button suddenly to switch back over to another camera. Khanti, really quick, I get this question a lot. What does the installation process look like? And are there any lookouts or special tools that an installer should be aware of before they go to do their first installation of an IslandDER?
A great question. And again, it depends on where you are and who's installing IslandDER. If you are in California, for example, you are not installing IslandDER. So you are going to be installing Nexis and planning your communication cable and routing between the devices and coordinating that installation with the utility. If you live in a different part of the country where you are allowed to install it either completely autonomously or with a joint meet, power kill type of scenario, then you're going to want to pay attention to those four letters, R, T, F, M, and read it thoroughly. Notice a trend, right? basically we outline the process, right? We outline kind of like what is a good applicable meter socket, right? We do not want to put a thingy in a bad thingy, right? For lack of better terms. We want to make sure the meter socket is not dripping water. We want to make sure it's not, full of bugs and rusted jaws, or that the jaws inside that accept the stabs from the meter or the meter socket adapter are not loose and could cause a hot socket condition, right? We don't want to be the last one touching the socket if there's a problem. So we start in the manual talking about kind of the things to look for to make sure you have good socket to start with. And then, proper PPE, making sure you're de-energizing, power to the house before you're removing a meter. You have utility approval to be removing a meter. And just going through the whole process. The installation itself, the actual process of pulling a meter out of a socket, putting in IslandDER, and reinstalling the meter, and then connecting an Ethernet cable, you could be doing it in 15, 20 minutes, especially if you've done them before. It is very, very simple. And that's what's so exciting about this versus cutting in a backup interface or similar legacy MID, right? Is you don't have to cut the service entrance cable. You don't have to introduce a new box in series with stuff. You're just removing the meter, putting the MSA in. Because IslandDER has no power connection, it's just communications. There's no neutral connection into the socket like our other products. So yeah, I mean, it's read the manual, it's PPE, it's kill power, inspect the socket, make sure you're putting it into the right thing. You're pulling the meter out, you're putting the meter socket adapter in, you're reinstalling the meter into the meter socket adapter, and you're making the communications connection. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
I'm greatly oversimplifying it, but that's why I'm saying, go back to the manual. If you're installing your first one, ConnectDER has a phenomenal team, implementation team and support team that would be happy to, walk them through or answer any questions for the first install.
Awesome. We're about halfway through the episode right now, so I think we're gonna have to shift over to Nexis. Otherwise, we're not going to talk about Nexis at all. Like I said, our wives are showing up at exactly 4 o'clock. So we need to make sure that we're wrapping up by then. So, Khanti, you are absolutely welcome to hang out with us for the rest of the hour.
Wait, first, can we do a beer check-in?
We absolutely need to do a beer check-in.
So, Khanti, how is your beer?
It's definitely getting low, so I might have to take a quick break to grab another one.
I hear you. It's hot in my office, and I drank all my beer already, but it was very tasty.
Yeah.
Definitely vanilla, cinnamon. I would say this is the PSL of beers.
Yeah, the Inhume India Pale Ale from Ghost Town is actually really creamy and smooth. This is a good beer.
What's the IBU on it?
It's Citra, Centennial, and Simcoe. IBU was just 73.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah, so for an IPA, especially a California IPA, it's actually very mild. It's really good.
Usually, like when I'm drinking California IPAs, they're like usually 80, 90, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Who's doing this right now? All right. So I want to make sure that we shift over to Nexis a little bit here.
Okay.
There are a lot of questions that came into nightmode@solaredge.com. Thank you for emailing those. I will try to reply to you directly, and if possible, I'll ping Khanti, who is here with us today, if there's something that I cannot answer or can't answer. But I want to make sure that we get to our good friends over in North Carolina. They say they are very disappointed that the IslandDER is not approved in North Carolina, and it's doubtful the utilities are ever going to come around. But if you do run into an AHJ who has questions about a product or about compatibility or what codes need to be referenced and you're getting pushback, the best thing that you can do is send a message over to either support group, either over at ConnectDER or at SolarEdge, and then just say, hey, I've got a code issue or an AHJ that is pushing back on me because of this. This is the code that they're referencing. This is the situation. If at all possible, always send in SLDs because that makes our job so much easier.
Yeah.
Don't do this while you're on site or waiting with an inspector because it's probably not going to happen right then. But typically what will happen is anybody within the support organization will see it's like a compliance or code issue. and they'll immediately just pass the buck and forward it off to one of the senior support folks or directly to the compliance department or engineers within each organization. So that is always the best option. If you are getting pushback from an AHJ and you really want to use the product, we're always happy to reach out and talk to AHJs and maybe make some things clear with them or help them understand how the product works.
Yeah, and I'm going to do a little plug for Khanti here. Please, Khanti, stop me if I say anything incorrect. I think the utility there in North Carolina is Duke. And while ConnectDER has many MSAs on the market today, they have a lot of great relationships with many utilities. And that proven track record helps those conversations down the road. And so while you may not have any approved meter callers in Duke territory or North Carolina territory, if it's not Duke, today, ConnectDER and SolarEdge team are working to change that, just to make the installations a lot more cost effective. Because again, we're saving those circuit relocation labor efforts. We're saving those main panel upgrades. We're doing a lot to help the homeowner reduce the cost, to provide more distributed energy assets to the grid, to get resiliency systems in place so when the power goes out, people are able to survive. And so that is, there is a lot to that. And so those conversations, again, are being spearheaded by people like ConnectDER, like SolarEdge, with these great utility relationships.
Absolutely. And yeah.
Anything to add, Khanti?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. We have a whole market opening team. That's all they do is work with utilities. We have a website, connectder.com/check availability, where we update the utilities in the different states. And as mentioned earlier, there is another approach with that second socket that may allow the use of IslandDER and Nexis without utility approval. So there's definitely more conversation that's worth having, both in terms of where we are in discussions with Duke and other utilities that haven't yet approved. Because if it's not approved, I guarantee you our team is already talking to them. And we'd be happy to support your efforts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and just to sum up with ConnectDER, the reason that I do love this product so much and working with ConnectDER is flat out, it takes a job like installing a sub panel, relocating loads with your most expensive resource, which is your electrician, takes like a half day to a day's worth of work and boils it down to 15 minutes to a half an hour-ish, which is incredibly helpful on site for both the homeowner and for a business owner, and for us as well, because again, that's where we typically see the most installation mistakes.
Right.
Now, our friends in North Carolina, our good buddies over at Green Power, North Carolina, they've got a lot of questions about cross-compatibility. Now, I know we were going to kind of work on doing like a matrix and a white paper on this, but can you just give us the lowdown of different types of compatibility? Let's start with the hub inverter. What will it be compatible with, at least on the roadmap right now?
Sure.
What will it be compatible with in the future?
So we'll start with what we have today. So today we have a home hub inverter with a SolarEdge home battery and a SolarEdge home backup interface. You can have multiple home hub inverters. You can have multiple batteries per home hub, so up to 3 batteries per home hub. So 90 kilowatt hours on the backup system, up to 3 inverters on the backup system. The Nexis battery block, it is on the roadmap to be backwards compatible with the home hub. Now there's a kind of a caveat there. The current SolarEdge home battery is NMC technology, chemistry, and the Nexis battery is LFP. And you cannot mix chemistries on the same DC bus. The batteries don't charge at the same rate. They don't have the same charge-discharge characteristics. They have different temperature ranges that they're allowed to be installed in. So there's many reasons to not do that. And so eventually, again, it's on the roadmap to allow a stack of Nexis battery blocks with a link to be able to talk to a SolarEdge home hub inverter, so long as there's no other chemistry on site. So that is a roadmap item. But that is way down the road. That is not anytime coming soon. The SolarEdge Nexis inverter is and can AC couple. So we'll be able to AC couple to start with existing PV only systems. So if you have a SolarEdge home hub inverter or just a home wave that has no battery connected to it, we can AC couple to that and be able to control that inverter via frequency shifting, and that's how we're going to do it. Eventually, we'll control that inverter with Modbus because those old inverters speak Modbus, or hopefully we'll be able to control it with SolarEdge Home Network, or the EnergyNet as we used to call it. So those are also roadmap items, and then eventually we'll be able to control AC couple and control home hub inverters with batteries eventually. And so again, it's really hard to do batteries and have two different inverters with mixed chemistries. But that's the only way you'll be able to do it is if they have their own inverters, then you should be able to do it. So SolarEdge Nexis is going to be that bridge to backwards compatibility, which is important. And to start, again, I can't stress this enough, to start, Nexis is AC coupleable to any PV only system. And then down the road, we'll be able to AC couple to PV plus battery. And then we'll be able to AC couple to, and that's all third party systems as well. And then we'll be able to AC couple to PV plus battery and do dynamic control through some type of communication device, whether it be Modbus or EnergyNet to legacy SolarEdge products.
And I would imagine as we get closer to product release, look on the product page, you'll see a bunch of buttons down at the very, very bottom for things like app notes and white papers. Any documentation that I find, I will add those to those buttons and make sure that they get into the knowledge base so that those will be quickly at hand. But if you're ever in a situation where you're like, you have a specific question about a specific site, you can reach out to us at nightmode@solaredge.com, and we'll be more than happy to take a look and kind of give you a little bit of feedback. Because if you're ever uncertain, we want to make sure that we're helping out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one last kind of comment about backwards compatibility is, SolarEdge started what we call the Re-Energize program. And the Re-Energize program allows you to take old technology off of the side of the building, trade it into us, and then we'll give you the new product. And I'm looking at all those old StoreEdge inverters. Those are getting to 10, 12 years old now. They're tied in with some legacy LG Chem batteries that are starting, they're 10 years old. And so people want more backup power, more backup capability. And so I imagine there's going to be a time and place to say, okay, we're just going to upgrade this existing system to Nexis, because luckily all the optimizers are backwards compatible. So you'll be able to take the existing system, maybe rip out the inverter and then put in the new Nexis inverter. And as we're doing all these alpha and beta testing sites right now, that's exactly what we're doing, is we're taking existing systems and ripping out the old stuff and putting in the new stuff just so we can get some run hours on it. And so we'll have a process pretty well dialed in as we move forward, and maybe even a white paper at the best strategy to do it. And then hopefully, maybe we'll have down the road after next year, we'll have a trade-in program where you can trade in your existing products into upgrade into the Nexis. And so that might be a viable option.
Yeah, and again, more details to follow. The Re-Energize program, absolutely excellent, but we'll see what that kind of pans out with as we move forward. Next question that I have that came in is, can I mix and match batteries on the same inverter? And I believe that is a no.
Yeah.
Just because you said different chemistries, probably not a good idea. Different discharge rates.
Different, even if it's the same chemistry and a different cell form factor, it still doesn't work. So yeah, you can never mix batteries on the same DC bus. Like imagine like you had a flashlight and you were trying to put in a AA, and then you just dropped in a AAA, and then maybe you dropped in a C cell battery. Like, yeah, that's not going to work. And so kind of the same idea. Like you don't want to mix cells, you don't want to mix battery chemistries on the same DC chain. So no, you cannot mix batteries on the DC bus of an inverter.
All right. So next question that came in, Cameron, will our batteries and inverters be manufactured here in the US?
Yes. So currently we manufacture in Texas. So we manufacture all of our inverters in Texas, and they qualify for domestic content. We manufacture all of our optimizers out of Florida. They qualify for domestic content. We manufacture all of our batteries out of Utah. I think it's Salt Lake City. So they also qualify for domestic content. It's actually an interesting question. I haven't thought about the Nexis IslandDER piece. Khanti, can you shed some light on where the IslandDER is manufactured?
All right, I was on mute there. So we manufacture multiple sites. We have manufacturing in the U.S. As well as Mexico. So
Nice.
MCA compliant generally.
Heck yeah. All right, so mostly all your SolarEdge products American made, and so we're definitely keen on domestic content and providing that type of rebates and incentives to our installers, third-party owners, and lending as we move into the one big beautiful bill post 25D, where we're sunsetting the ITC. I think we're going to see domestic content play a big role into these qualifying loans that people are going to take or buy PV systems with now. So that's one thing to keep in mind is those rules are changing, and domestic content is going to be more critical than ever.
Okay. Next question I have is, what are the elevation and temperature thresholds that the batteries can operate in? And I'd also like to know if we can get a little bit more information about ConnectDER, if there are any restrictions that we should know about. So for the battery, best place to check whether it's the SolarEdge home battery or the Nexis battery or any other manufacturers, always go straight to the data sheet. Generally at the bottom of the data sheet, what you'll see is you'll see the maximum altitude and operating temperatures, usually listed down towards the bottom along with all the compliance information. That's the best place to find it. If you are looking for a preliminary data sheet, reach out to us at nightmode.com. We can share some information with you. It's obviously we're still in development, so none of it's all preliminary. Being polite about saying things. We'll be happy to share information with you, but a much larger threshold for the battery, right?
Yeah, so for temperature ranges for the battery is rated from -4 degrees Fahrenheit, and our current battery goes all the way up to 122 degrees, but the Nexis will be able to go up to 131 degrees Fahrenheit. And so it's got a much wider temperature range, and we'll try to drop that floor out a little bit more after we get some more runtime and some more data points. But we have two 50-watt resistive heating mats inside the battery, keeping the cells nice and warm. And it's not the cells that are in trouble at cold weather when they're just sitting idle. It's when they're actively charging or discharging is when it is a problem and you hurt your cycle life. But when we're charging or discharging, the batteries are actively heating. And so the heating mat will obviously only turn on when it is needed. And so if you're installing batteries in cold climates, you can do it outside. You can put it inside the garage. You can put it inside the basement. There's so many places that you can put this thing, direct sunlight, whatever, because we designed it for all weather. Interestingly enough, the high weather temp, 131 degrees Fahrenheit, we have a couple of installs going into Arizona, and kind of the same problem, but the reverse side, like it's getting too hot for my battery. What do? The meter collar itself, one of the toughest tests to pass is the heat rise test. And so, Khanti, I'm going to throw this one to you. Meter collars in the state of Arizona, it's 122 degrees Fahrenheit on a summer day. What do you think? Is it going to be able to pass a heat rise test at that temp?
Yeah, this has been a key test for us both to pass the UL 414 heat rise testing and to do it without a fan with only thermal, passive cooling techniques was an engineering feat for sure. But yeah. No, absolutely. Pacifying colors were rated from -22 to 149 degrees
Nice.
Fahrenheit. We've run the models, the accelerated life testing and the halt testing, and we've done it in direct irradiance, and no issues on our side.
That is awesome. And like you said, it's a feat of engineering. No moving parts inside that meter socket adapter. No moving parts is huge, and just being able to do that with passive cooling is impressive in itself. So
200 amps through a grapefruit, as I like to say, is difficult to not overheat.
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Cam.
Okay,
We've got 8 minutes left. It's time for speed round.
the speed round.
Are
Right
you
on
ready?
me.
Okay.
I'm ready. Okay.
What is the max LRA battery and inverter?
One inverter, 3 battery blocks, 185 amps of LRA.
Maximum number of battery blocks you can put on a single inverter.
With a single inverter, you can have up to 4 links, and each link can have up to 4 battery blocks. So that is 16 battery blocks per inverter, which is 80 kilowatt hours.
Is there a PCS meter included with the inverter?
Yes, you can do a PCS meter. It is included inside the Nexis inverter. The CTs are sold separately. So if you're using just the inverter, PV only, maybe PV plus battery with no backup, then you're going to take those CTs and clamp them on to the feeders of the service entrance. However, we're doing PCS with and consumption monitoring with ConnectDER. So if you are using the Nexis IslandDER, you won't need to add CTs because the CTs are in the IslandDER.
I heard that you only had to have one tool for installation.
That is mostly true. Mostly. So just a T25 to get the cover off. All the screws on the side for the brackets are all T25. There is one grounding bar screw that I could not get into the T25. That is a flat blade screw on the ground bar. But outside of that, everything else is T25 or thumb actuated. And then, of course, you know, if you count your thumb as a tool.
All right. Can I custom brand or paint the removable covers on the inverter and battery?
The decorative covers, absolutely. So you can take those off. They're held on by magnets. You can put your company logo on it. You can paint it the same color as the house, or you can just leave it SolarEdge. I think we call it agreeable gray. Maybe it's white. I don't know.
All right. What is the Nexis unit and what is its purpose?
The Nexis unit.
I'm sorry. What is the? I apologize. What is the Nexis Link?
Link. The SolarEdge Nexis Link is a battery management system and thermal management system for all the battery blocks. So each battery block has its own BMS inside of it, but we want to make sure that all the BMSs are doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we want the batteries to be able to discharge not only simultaneously, but also independently, and that's how we maintain a very high charge and discharge efficiency. One of the biggest reasons why is big batteries do not like to discharge at low power thresholds, and they hate that 300 to 600 watts, which is where most of our house's run rate is at night, like when we're not using a lot of energy. Batteries are very inefficient at that low power threshold. So instead of discharging every single battery block that we have in the stack at 100 watts or 200 watts each, we will discharge just one of the battery blocks and leave the other 2 or 3 sitting there. And we can now do that at a much higher efficiency. So that's why we do that.
All right. Have you completed 9540A testing?
Yes, we have completed our 9540A test report. We are in the stage of writing the results. So we have all of our results. We are writing the interpretation of what the results mean and how that translates to installations now. So yes, we've done 9540A testing.
What are the field replaceable components on the SolarEdge Nexis inverter and battery?
SolarEdge Nexis inverter has a replaceable fan. The meter is replaceable. The communication board that we call the Portilla, that is a replaceable component. The Nexis Link has a replaceable fan. And interestingly enough, we designed it so when you take the cover off of the Nexis Link, it's hinged and it just hangs there. And then you can access the fans if you need to. There's 3 really beefy fans that pull air up the back of the battery blocks and exhaust out the side ports. However, they're only running at 33%. So even if one fan fails, we'll send you an alert. We still have the capacity to pull the volume of air that we need with just the other 2 fans. And then the Nexis battery blocks, they have a BMS. So I think we can all agree that the chemistry is not going to fail. If anything is going to fail, it's the PCB, the battery management system. And so that is a replaceable component. And the fun fact here is you don't have to take any of the batteries out of the stack. You can shut down the system, take the one battery that's not working and just open up those 4 screws, pull out the BMS, put the new BMS in, and leave everything in the stack if you gave yourself 8 inches on the left-hand side.
Next question I got was, are you going to be doing a live installation? We're going to try. We've got a beta site that is just down the road from us, and we're trying to wrangle some more extra equipment so that we can install it at a buddy of ours' house and hopefully set up some cameras and do a live installation for you a little bit later. We are nearing the end of the hour, and we had a lot of questions come in. Really, really appreciate it. Again, if you have any more questions, send them over to nightmode@solaredge.com. Khanti, I can't tell you how much we appreciate having you here today. Thank you so much for joining us and answering questions. Cameron, as always, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, I'm always happy to be here. And again, Khanti, also, thank you so much. I love talking with you. I love talking with like-minded solar nerds in the industry. And you, my friend, are by far some of the best. So thank you for joining us on our humble show.
Real honor to be on with you guys, and kudos to a job well done on the Nexis product. It's impressive. So well done.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And if you want to see a really cool interview with Cam and Khanti, you can go to our SolarEdge North America YouTube channel, look under the RE Plus 2025 playlist, and you'll actually get to see them talk a little bit more in depth and get to see the product up close and personal. Sorry we didn't have one here. We're actually moving offices across the hall in the next couple of weeks, so we're not going to be doing an episode 2 weeks from now. We're going to be doing an episode 3 weeks from now. And we're actually going to have a really, really cool person join us who is an expert on roofing and engineering.
Yeah.
So tease that a little bit. We'll actually give you a little bit more detail as we move forward. But yeah, looking forward to that. Again, I'm Chris.
My name's Cameron.
The SolarEdge Night Mode. Stay sunny.
Stay optimized.
Cheers. As I turn off the stream. There we go. Okay. Cool.
Only 14.